This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Take two. I am delighted to be joined by Robert Garcia. Robert, I appreciate you coming back to do this. We've had an issue with our audio, so I'm very sorry for having to do this again. But thank you for coming back, like I say. Obviously, straight into it, first and foremost, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good to hear. Now, obviously, getting ready now. Mikey Garcia, your brother, returns. How excited to see him back in the ring on Saturday night?
Well, I'm glad he's back in the ring. It's been over a year and a half since his last fight, and we wanted him to come back sooner, but then there was other fights that were trying to be made that never happened. But I'm just finally glad that it's happening. The whole team, we're ready for this because Mikey, needs to get back in the ring. I think he's a big name enough to bring in a good crowd and just. There's so many big fights out there for him that could happen in the future. So we're excited and happy that he's back.
Robert, Sandor Martin. Why Sandor Martin?
Well, look, we had never even heard who Sandor Martin was. When he was brought up to Mikey didn't really want to. Nothing against Martin, but Mikey wants big fights, big names. But when he was told that a fight between him and Regis Prograis was going to be really difficult to make at this time, of the year, September, October, they told him we could do it, but maybe towards the end of the year or maybe even early next year. So they told him, hey, this is the fight. If you want to fight, stay busy. So we convinced him to do it. We convinced Mikey to do it, and we're here. Sandor Martin, can't take anything away from him because this is a big opportunity for him. This is probably the biggest fight of his career. So he's going to be, I'm sure he's in the best shape of his life. So he could be a dangerous fighter. Those are the fighters. The fighters that are hungry are the ones that could come and give you problems. He's gonna do whatever it takes to win the fight. So we know it's not going to be an easy fight. So we definitely have to be in great shape to go against somebody that hungry.
Mikey, I know, has those desires to become a world champion once again. With Sandor Martin, as you said, he might not have been excited when the fight was first announced, but I'm sure he'll want to make a statement as well as he looks towards those big fights moving forwards. So how important is it that he does impress on Saturday night?
Well, we need to. He needs to look very, very impressive. There's so many big fights out there. There was already talks about him fighting Regis Prograis. There's also the world champion at 140. Josh Taylor, who would be a great fight with Mikey. So to be able to get those fights and to be able to even talk about those fights, you got to perform this Saturday. We got to perform against Martin, and like I told you, Martin could be one of those guys that's going to come out and have the performance of his life. A win for Martin is would be the biggest win of his career. So we definitely have to go out and perform.
I know talks had taken place for a potential Regis Prograis fight. So how disappointing was it that you couldn't get one over the line for this date?
Well, it was disappointing, but I think at the same time it was also a blessing that we're getting a stay busy fight. Like I said, nothing against Martin, but this could be one of those fights where Mikey gets we call it a tune-up fight, stay busy fight, to come back and fight somebody like Regis. Regis Prograis there was already talks about him fighting Mikey, but for whatever reason was, the money, he's also going to demand a big purse. Mikey is too. So it was, the budget wasn't there for this time of the year. So hopefully we could do it before the end of the year, December, early January, February. It doesn't matter. But I think the fight will happen.
Another name you mentioned earlier was Josh Taylor. He obviously has one victory over you with the Jose Ramirez bout. Is that something you've thought about? Something you'd love to kind of get revenge effectively over?
You know what? Josh Taylor's a great fighter. He fought a great fight. But yes, I don't like to lose, and it's he's one of the fighters that, with all respect to him, he's a great person. He showed us a lot of respect after the fight. Very, very talented. He has a great team behind him, great coach. But I like those challenges, and he beat me. I want to get even. If it's with Mikey or even a rematch with Jose, I would love that opportunity, because I know we could beat him.
How much have you watched that fight back, Robert? And when you do watch it back, how many kind of weaknesses do you feel you could exploit in Josh's game?
You know what? It's a fight that I've watched a couple times, because knowing that the fight was, even though we had, there was 2 knockdowns in two different rounds, the fight was still scored 6-6 in rounds. So, I always go back and say, if it wasn't for that knockdown, if it wasn't for the first knockdown, I think the fight would have been our fight. I think those knockdowns make the difference. I think those rounds where he got dropped, I think Jose was winning. So if it wasn't, ifs don't really mean anything, because they did happen. But, if they didn't happen, we would have won the fight. But obviously that didn't happen. He did what he had to do. My fighter got caught, got dropped, and we took it like real warriors. Jose didn't make no excuses. I'm not making up excuses either. Taylor had a great game plan. He had a great counter punch and dropped him the first time. So nothing against that, But I do have that little thing inside of me that I want to get even. I want to get back, and hopefully it could be against Mikey or even Jose in a rematch.
You've spoken before about how Mikey and Jose would not both fight at 140 whilst the world titles were there. With Jose, is he just staying at 140 now? Will he move back up to, well, not back up, but would he move to 147? How will it play out there?
Well, as of right now, I think 140 is where he should stay. One day, 147, if it's for a big fight, a huge fight, then it's possible, But as of right now, I think 140 is where he feels a little more comfortable, and where he could become champion again. Like I said, a rematch, maybe even Taylor moving up in weight and vacating the titles, something like that could easily give Jose another title opportunity. But, as of right now, I know he's going to come back sometime early next year. So we'll take it fight by fight and see where it goes. But I think 140 is the best division for him.
Jesse Rodriguez returns on Saturday night as well. How excited are you to see him back in the ring?
You know what? I'm very excited about this kid, because he's one of my most talented fighters in my gym. Everybody sees him train, and my middleweights are always watching him sparring, and they say, man, I'm glad he's not a middleweight. My welterweights, I'm glad he's not a welterweight. You know what I mean? Because this kid is very talented. He's special. And I think he could easily be a 4, 5, even 6 division champion. I think he will be pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world in the future. We just need that opportunity. And I'm glad Taken, Mr. Honda have been behind us since the beginning of his career. Now Matchroom is coming together with Mr. Honda and Taken to co-promote him and show his talent worldwide. I think this kid is going to be pound for pound, if not the best, one of the best in the world.
Virgil Ortiz, what is the latest with him?
You know what? We were hoping that he fights before the end of the year, but it looks like it's probably going to happen the first part of next year. I think at welterweight, he's unbeatable. There's 2 champions that we might think are the ones that might give him most trouble, and that's Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Those are the 2 most talented fighters. I think anybody outside that division he knocks out, and not saying that he can knock out Errol Spence or Terence Crawford. I think he could knock them out too. But yeah, they are the most talented fighters, and yes, they are world champions for many years. So we also can't take credit away from them. But do I think my fighter is ready to beat them and to become world champion? 100%. I think Virgil beats anybody at the welterweight division.
Just on Terence Crawford, he's facing Sean Porter on November 20th. Let's get your take on that, Robert. What's your thoughts?
That's going to be a great fight. I think that's going to be a great challenge for for Crawford. I think Crawford was waiting for something that big because he hasn't had any big fights, any big names. I think this is a fight that's going to motivate him to perform, and I think it could turn out to be a great performance. It's going to be a great fight, but I think Crawford wins.
And then just moving forwards, or moving backwards rather, onto the heavyweight division. This weekend, a terrific end to the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Just going to get your reflections on it, Robert. What did you make of it about?
What a great fight, man! I think this was one of the best heavyweight, if not the best heavyweight title fight I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. There was knockdowns both ways. It was one of those fights that brings boxing back to to the world. For the last 20, maybe even 30 years, heavyweight boxing wasn't that big here in the United States. Since the Tyson, the Holyfields, the Larry Holmes, we didn't. Heavyweight boxing wasn't that big in the United States, and we needed the heavyweights. You get so many different fans, new fans following the heavyweights that are going to follow the rest of the divisions. So I think boxing needed this type of fights here in the United States, and I'm glad that these two men came out to give us that fight. Both of them deserve all the credit in the world. Obviously, Tyson Fury was the better man, and took the big win. But it was just one of those fights that it's going to be remembered for many years.
I just want to get your thoughts on the third and fourth round in particular, because the third round Tyson drops Deontay, and in the fourth round Deontay drops Tyson twice. What was going through your mind at that stage?
The first, it's only what a great fight. When you're just a fan and watching as a fan, you enjoy those. Watching that. Wow, can Wilder finish him? What is Tyson Fury going to do after? It was just one of the fights where me as a trainer and watching it as a fan, so many things come to my mind. Sometimes it happens to our fighters. My fighters have got dropped. They get up and they go and win a fight. My fighters get dropped and they go and lose a fight. It's just part of boxing. So, a lot of those things go through my mind. But the main thing was just what a great fight. Wow, I haven't seen this in many years, and I was glad to see this fight and to see the heavyweight division grow so much after this.
Did you see it as a fight of the year?
What was that?
Was it the fight of the year for you?
So far, I do think it's there's been other great fights, but I think it definitely will be fight of the year.
Just final thing, because I know you've spoken highly of him in the past. Anthony Joshua previously lost a couple of weeks ago to Alexander Usyk. I just want to get your reflections on that as well.
You know what? Usyk, knowing him from my former gym in Oxnard, great person, very awkward, difficult style, and he did what he did to become a world champion. I know him a little bit better than I do Anthony Joshua, but one thing that I remember from Anthony Joshua is when I took one of my fighters to fight in England. He fought there. I don't know if it was his pro debut or he already had a few fights, but he wasn't well known. He was barely fighting, maybe 6 rounds. And just coming into the weigh-in, his smile, his looks, I just seen a star in him. I didn't know who he was at first, but I seen that kid was gonna be a superstar. He was so confident of himself, his smile, his confidence, and then his performance. Obviously, it was a great performance that night. I knew he was gonna be a superstar before I even knew who he was. Obviously he became a world champion, and he's an unbelievable champion. I think there's just a few mistakes that he needs to correct. I think the game plans are very important in a fight. You have to be prepared to change the game plan from one round to the other, and that's one thing that seems like he's missing. Both losses that he's had, it seemed like after he gets caught, he kind of loses his focus. He loses his game plan, and looks like the corner doesn't have a plan B. You have to be prepared for situations like that. Even though you have one of the best fighters in the world, that doesn't mean he's never going to get dropped. That doesn't mean he's never going to get hurt. He could get cut. He could get, dropped. He could get, anything could happen in boxing. His hand could break, and you have to change the game plan. There's so many different situations in a boxing fight that you got to be ready for. You got to be prepared. And it just seems like himself, has never been ready for stuff like situations like that. He needs to change that. He needs to change that. And I think, talent wise, I think he's probably the most talented fighter in the heavyweight division. You got Wilder, who unbelievable power. You got Usyk, who's awkward, difficult. His style is very difficult. You have Fury, who's big and strong and uses his body to make it difficult for his opponents. But talent-wise, the way he uses his jab, the way he moves in the ring, I think Anthony Joshua is the most talented fighter. He just needs to change his mind, the way he thinks inside the ring, the game plans, all that needs to improve. And I think he's got all the tools in boxing to become to come back and win his titles back.
Robert, just final one, listening to you talk there, on the back of his defeat, there were some reports or rumours that he might look to change up his training team. With that in mind and listening to you talk, like I say, would you have any interest in teaming up with AJ if an opportunity was to present itself?
You know what? I've worked with so many different fighters. I've had one champion at 105 division, which is the smallest division in boxing. I would love to have one at super heavyweight. At the biggest division in boxing. It would be unbelievable. It would be a dream come true. I'm all up for it. I have a heavyweight right now in my gym that's going to turn pro this Friday, and I'm excited about that challenge. But somebody that has already been a former world champion that's going to fight, on a rematch for the world title. It's a dream come true. It's an opportunity for my career as a trainer to have a heavyweight champion of the world. That would be unbelievable. I would be more than happy to be part of it, and I would definitely do whatever it takes to win that title back.
Right, Robert, we'll leave that there now. Leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming back to do this again, like I've said. I appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking to me again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.